Hey YouTube, we're out in the goat pasture tonight looking at our next project. So meet Sunny and Cher. Sunny over here on the left and Cher there. These are our big mean livestock guardian dogs for all these goats that we've got out here. And what we're working on tonight is we're getting ready to go on a trip for a couple days, and the goats can be self-sufficient as long as we've got them in a pen that's got plenty of forage. We've got an automatic water set up over there. That's no problem, but we can't just leave feed out for the dogs. We've got to have a way to keep the goats out and let the dogs in. The dog food is hard on the goats. The calcium and phosphorus ratio, if I remember that right, is incorrect. And essentially what it'll do if they eat too much is give them a kidney stone, which most of the time is fatal for a goat. So we don't want that to happen, but we've got to keep these guys fed. So we're gonna try and model a feeder after one of the Greg Judy feeders and try to train these guys to use it. I want to get it done now, one, because we got the trip, but also these guys are still pretty small. It'll be easier for them to get in and out of the feeder, and so it'll be easier to train them, and then that way as they grow older, it'll just be kind of customary to them. It'll be something they do all the time, and so they'll naturally be able to do it. So here's a shot of the materials we're working with. That's the dog feeder that we've used other places before, but it's going to work out pretty good for this. I've got a treated 4x4 there. I bought a 12-footer and cut it in half, so that's 6 feet long. We cut some 45s on the end. I left a little square nose on there, just seems a little stronger. I don't know, probably doesn't matter. And then my 2x4s will be the cross pieces between the 4x's. I'll show that here in a minute. These are going to be 42 inches wide, and the reason for that is that the squares on this panel are 6 inches wide each. So basically what that does is, actually they're 8 inches. Anyway, it works out to 40 inches wide, and I want an inch on either side. So we're going to be 40 inches wide by about 64 inches long. That'll leave a few inches on each end of the 4x4 hanging out. So you'll see, I'll explain more about the dimensions later, but we'll start putting this together and it'll start taking shape. Okay, we've got the panels cut and they're attached to the frame now. So our 2x4 across the front, according to Greg's plan, is this board needs to be 18 inches from the front of the cage, and that's so that the dogs can go over this board and then they'll go under the cage. So we've got that spacing there. You can see why I wanted to leave the extra inch on the outside of these panels. So just basically that was to give me plenty of meat to put those steeples or fence staples in to hold it down. We've got it stapled in there and then just tied almost every square with wire there. On the back side, obviously there was no board to staple straight down into, so each upright, each vertical, I shot a staple in there to hold that one up. So next I'm going to put the support boards in across to hold the feeder, and then we'll get the front put on. Also, this ended up quite a bit taller than I wanted it to, so we're going to cut at least 2 sets of squares off the top, mostly just so we can get in there and fill the feeder and crawl into it if we need to for some reason or whatever. But this is the progress we've got so far. Here it is with the front on it. I know it's kind of hard to see since it's all wire here, but we've got our 18-inch gap from here to here, and then from the floor to the first wire here is just a hair under 10 inches, 9.5 or so. We're going to try that with the puppies, see what they think of that. It looks like plenty of room for them to get through, so hopefully that'll work out okay. Got the feeder mounted. Basically the feeder is bolted to that couple 2x6s, 2x8, whatever, that's directly under it, and then I nailed that stand down into the 2 2x4s that I put across there. It might be a little on the high side, but we'll see how it goes. Now I'm going to cut a couple squares off the top of this and make it a little bit more accessible. There it is, all trimmed down. A lot easier to get to the dog feeder. It's obviously pretty laid out, so tomorrow morning we'll fill it with feed, we'll take it down to the puppies and see what they think of it. Also, before that, in order to move this, I'm going to put some eye bolts into the 4x4s up there, run a chain across so we can drag it around with a four-wheeler or side-by-side or something. But we'll do that in the morning and see what the puppies think. For the chain, this is just 3/16 chain, and instead of buying a master link, I checked on them, they're like $3. I like to just put a nut and bolt through there, a couple of washers, and that'll hold just fine. All right, I think we're ready to go. That's 10 feet of 3/16 chain. It's not super heavy, but that's not super heavy either. So we'll hook it up to the mule and see how it does. There's one ditch I'm kind of worried about, but we'll just see how it goes. Well, this is our current state of progress. I had to put the puppies in there. They weren't real sure about it. There's too much going on, and I tried to push Sunny underneath, but she didn't understand. So I just put them in there, show them where the food's at, and then hopefully they can find their way out. I'm gonna hang out and help them out if they don't get it figured out, and then hopefully they'll get in the habit of going in and out on their own. But we're gonna hang out here with them for a little while and see if we can help get them trained. We're too distracted with eating for the moment to try and work on getting out. One thing about this that I probably would have changed is I would have made this a little bit longer. Whenever I bought my 4x4, I just wasn't really thinking about this 18 inches on the front, so that shortened it up quite a bit. It's still plenty long, especially for them right now, and even as they get bigger, I think it'll still be okay. But if you've got multiple dogs or really big dogs or anything like that, I think it would benefit to be longer. So these are 6-foot runners, and then the sides ended up being 48 inches. The other thing, I was worried about the dog feeder being too tall. Well, that's not an issue. Not an issue at all. They're doing just fine. The goats haven't really tried. Of course, they haven't been around it long enough to try and figure anything out, but we'll hang out here a little while longer and see if we can get one of these guys to go in and out of the hole. This is going well. We've gone in and we ate our fill, and now we're just relaxing our little quiet spot away from the goats. I can't get them to even begin to be interested in getting out right now. So, well, I ended up having to help them out. I'll probably be back this evening and see if we can kind of help show them how to get back in. I put a little bit of food there at the entrance, and they had already eaten, so they didn't care too much. I'm going to have to move it now so that that's not at the entrance. I don't want to train any goats to get into it, but we'll work with them the next time we're back and see if we can get them to go in and out nice and easy. But that's this project. Just takes a little bit of training and we should be good to go. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.